All right, and we are back. 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 Welcome. All right, and we are back. And today we're back with another reaction video, and we're back with a crowd favorite. That's right, alien biospheres. We're back. We're back with the Biblaridion. One day I will learn how to say his name. Today would not be that day. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this. If you haven't, make sure you like, you comment, and subscribe to the channel. And while you're down there subscribing to channels, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go to Biblaridion channel. Link will be in the description below. Go ahead and follow the link. Subscribe to him. And then comment on all his videos. And then like all his videos. Not in that specific order. Maybe subscribe, like, and then comment. But you guys already know what I mean. We have to support Biblaridion. He created the original content. He makes incredible content. You know, I'm here for the personality. You guys love me, right? You know, I'm learning. I know you got you. Some people may be like, "Oh man, he's so smart that he might as well have made this." I'm like, no. Biblaridion made this. He's really smart. Now I'm just like, I just seem like a genius, but real life, I'm just a normal guy. Some people may see me, they may see a little glow around me, but that's relatively normal. Some people have a glow around them. I'm one of those people. I think they call it aura, something like that. So, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into the video. Today, we're going to be learning all about Allopatry. Allopatry? I don't know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you know what it means. But we are going to find out, and we're going to find out together. So make sure you do all the fun stuff that YouTube tells us to do. Speaking of, I do have to bring this up, and I rarely bring stuff like this up in the videos. I know it's not the place for it, but if you guys don't like, comment, and subscribe, more importantly, subscribe, YouTube will come through that door right over there, and they will. Alien Biospheres, Part 10.
Alien Planet is brought to you by Campfire Technology.
Whoa, what's going on?
If you're a fan of the Alien Biospheres series and looking to make your own alien planet or any other kind of world-building or writing project, Campfire Blaze can be a big...
Guys, Campfire Blaze, make sure you support the sponsors. This video's old. I'm not sure if he's still working with Campfire Blaze, but go to his channel. Again, link is in the description. Check him out.
Help in keeping your work organized.
Oh my gosh, no. What am I doing? Guys, ignore that part of the reaction.
Facts, statistics, and miscellaneous details for every individual species.
I just wanted to make sure the quality
There are also tools for fleshing out the human aspects of your world, like cultures, politics, language.
Guys, are you going to be playing D&D soon? Are you going to be making a book? Are you going to be writing a book soon? Ladies and gentlemen, in the comments right down below if you plan on writing a book anytime soon, because you could be using this.
Languages, religions, and magic, along with pages for narrative elements like characters, relationships, timelines, and story arcs. Blaze's free version already includes most of these features.
Whoa, there's a free version and a paid version. So you don't even have to buy it. You could use the free version for all you guys use. And then you can, you're like, oh man, a free version is so good, I might as well get the paid version.
But you also have the option of individually purchasing new modules to let you catalog your world in even more detail. To sign up for Blaze or to learn more, check out the link in the description.
Link is in his description, probably. Biblaridion, my buddy, my guy.
Over the last few episodes, we've explored...
So many pauses already. I'm sorry, guys, but look at this artwork. We have to appreciate the artwork here. Mermaid Isa made this for our entertainment. We have to show some appreciation. This looks incredible. Those kind of look like penises. So I'm just going to throw that out there. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of what they are. And these are, so it's like, it makes sense. I'm just throwing it out there,
Each of the major biomes of our alien planet and seen how their respective ranges of temperature, precipitation, and resource availability have shaped the evolution of their
What is this? I like this. It's got a little CGI to it, you see, it's like one of those like early 2000s cartoons that people watch sometimes, you know?
Species. But in the enormous spans of time over which evolution occurs, conditions rarely remain stable for long.
Yeah.
As the eastern and western tectonic plates gradually drift away from each other, the supercontinent that has existed since life first moved onto dry land will finally break apart into two separate landmasses. This will have several immediate effects on the climate.
Okay.
What was once the arid continental interior will now form new coastlines, and the proximity to the sea and the resultant increase in precipitation will turn the plains and deserts into tracts of forest.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the mountain ranges along the exterior coasts will continue to rise, which will lower atmospheric carbon dioxide levels through silicate weathering, and the snow and ice that accumulates on their slopes will increase the planet's albedo, leading to a gradual ice.
Have we seen this plant in the last one? Was this plant in the last video? I feel like it may have been, but I don't remember it. But this is interesting, a snow version of them.
Accumulates on their slopes will increase the planet's albedo, leading to a gradual decrease in
reflection of solar radiation. I didn't know what albedo was. I thought he mispronounced libido, like the planet had a low libido, like the planet couldn't get it up anymore. Like, hey, that's what I thought. But now I know we're increasing the albedo, which is reflection of solar radiation. Now I feel like you could have just said reflection of solar radiation. It's more layman's terms, like the layman would more know what reflectivity of solar radiation is versus albedo. Albedo, I don't know, whatever it is. I felt like this is a better way to say it, but words have words for a reason.
Average global temperatures. And if these mountains, especially those in the northern plateau, see the formation of ice caps and glaciers, then for the first time in the history of terrestrial life, the planet will have entered an ice age. Up until now, the planet has been going through a greenhouse period, in which there were no polar ice caps or continental ice sheets. But as the planet cools, a cycle of glacial periods may begin, wherein for intervals spanning roughly 100,000 years, the global temperatures will drop by several degrees, sea levels will fall by as much as 100 meters, and ice sheets will advance from the poles and intrude into the temperate zones. Due to subtle changes in the planet's orbit, these glacial periods will be punctuated by relatively warm interglacial periods, each of which may last several tens of thousands of years. These drastic shifts in climate will have numerous ramifications for many ecosystems across the planet, but the breakup of the continents has another important consequence. With the exception of particularly mobile species, the respective inhabitants of the two continents are now cut off from each other, and thus evolutionary developments that occur on one continent won't affect the other, meaning they'll now have entirely separate evolutionary trajectories. Such a situation is called allopatry, and occurs whenever a population becomes separated by a physical or geographical barrier.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here, but this also happened with humans, right? Like the people who went through the Bering Strait and became like the Native Americans are like slightly genetically different than people who didn't make that change because they were isolated for like 10,000, like at least 10,000 years or so. And they have their own like genetic mutations that happen within them that didn't happen within other people, or vice versa. Like, is that true, or did I just make that up? You guys let me know. I feel like that is true. Belief wise, it's 100% true. Factually, I'm waiting on you guys to correct me. There you go. Allopatry, when populations can no longer interbreed due to geological separation. Now, this did not happen. We can still interbreed. Oh, wait, you can still. Maybe this didn't happen with humans. I don't know. You guys, let me know if I'm right or wrong. Did I make that up, or did I just say something real? Like, like we definitely can still reproduce. We're just like we're like this. We're like this. We're not like this. We're still all one species on Earth here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Whether it be a mountain range, a body of water, or anything else that might prevent the two halves of the population from interbreeding. Since gene flow can no longer occur, a frequent consequence of allopatry is that the separated subpopulations evolve into different species, which on a global scale will result in the clades and ecosystems on the eastern and western continents gradually diverging from each other. In light of this, for the first time in this series, we're going to need to keep track of biogeography, or the distribution and range of each of our clades, particularly whether they exist on the eastern or western continent, which will be essential for determining how ecosystems form. To begin with, the overall landscape of the eastern continent will remain much the same as it was before the continent split apart, since it will remain largely within the tropics as it drifts eastward, and even during an ice age the equator will still experience high temperatures. While stretches of tropical forest will occur along the coast, the inland areas will stay comparatively sparse, especially within the rain shadow of the eastern mountains. During the glacial periods, the forests may diminish with a decrease in rainfall, mainly surviving as patches of fragmented gallery forest separated by stretches of open plains. Environments like these allow plains-dwelling animals to live alongside forest-dwelling ones, a perfect environment for large browsers like the proceropods, as they'll be able to continuously feed on the treetops while still having enough space to move freely between areas of vegetation. When it comes to browsing herbivores, the larger the animal becomes, the better its ability to reach for food, and the more food the animal can obtain, the larger it can afford to grow. And in especially lush areas, like the periphery of the equatorial forests, this—
I swear, nature loves tall people. It is insane. Like, these tall animals get the advantage, tall people get advantages. We gotta do something about this. Not like I'm short or anything. Like, don't get that. You know, I'm like super tall, by the way. I'm just throwing it out there for the untall people who may not be like around 6 something, you know, like if I'm not saying I'm like under 6 feet tall, you know, I'm not bro, if I would stand up right now, but this is recording, you wouldn't even see the whole, that's why I'm not doing it. That's the only reason I'm not doing it. I mean, I could compare myself, it don't even matter. I'm like way over 6. I'm like so far over 6 feet tall. It's like insane. People see me, they look up all the time. It's hard for me to get into buildings. You know, whatever, guys. I'm not. What are you talking about anyway?
This feedback loop may result in these already massive proceropods growing even bigger. To help them reach upward, their legs and pedipalps may elongate, and their foreguts may expand to contain and process the enormous volumes of nutrient-poor foliage they feed on throughout the day. To support such a huge cephalothorax, they may develop stronger muscles and hardened tendons within their back, which will attach to enlarged projections of bone along the dorsal surface of their limb girdles, functioning much like the neural spines of many large animals on Earth. Being big also acts as a deterrent to predators, and as the largest animals on the eastern continent, these proceropods will be virtually immune to attack once fully grown. We'll call these gigantic beasts stylopods. Scurrying among the feet of these giants will be a menagerie of smaller herbivores like the leptopods. Most leptopods are adapted to live in open habitats, but in this patchwork of plains and fragmented forest, some clades may evolve to occasionally wander among the stands of trees in search of food. These clades may benefit from a more generalist diet than most other leptopods, feeding not only on brachyphytes, but also on mixed caulophyte species, necrophytes, and low tree branches. The trees will also provide a degree of shelter from large steppe-dwelling predators, though they can still rely on their speed to avoid attack when out in the open. But many leptopods and other herbivores may settle on another common form of defense.
What's that?
We've brought up the concept of competition many times in this series,
yes, you have.
But whenever we've mentioned it before, we've been referring to competition between different species, or interspecific competition. However, intraspecific competition, or competition between members of the same species, is an equally important factor in evolution. The fewer resources are present in a species' habitat, the more intense the intraspecific competition will be to gather those resources. In environments where intraspecific competition is especially high, a species may evolve territorial behaviors, aggressively repelling other individuals from their—
Now, tigers are like pretty solo dolo. Like, they don't really like other tigers anyway, right? I don't even think they... So like a Bengal tiger and a white tiger probably will automatically be like, yo, I don't even really mess with you like that. Also, can we talk about how cool white tigers are? Like, one of the coolest tigers. I feel like I only know like 2 types of tigers, and they're both in the same photo right now. But either way, top 2 tigers in existence right here in my face, right here.
Home range to keep as much of the local resources to themselves as possible. On the other hand, though, the presence of other individuals does come with some benefits. The more animals are around, the easier it will be for them to collectively keep an eye out for danger, and the less vulnerable each of them will be to attack, since predators will be forced to pick out and go after only one target. Because of this, many species exhibit collective behaviors whereby individuals instinctively congregate in groups, which, depending on the clade and group structure, can be described as herding, flocking, shoaling, or various other terms. Along the periphery of the coastal gallery forests of the eastern continent, food will be abundant enough to keep interspecific competition to a minimum, and so the resident leptopods can afford to evolve collective behaviors for greater safety, forming herds comprising anywhere from several dozen to over 100 members, giving these leptopods, which we'll call camptopods, a further degree of protection from the many predators they share their habitat with. The largest predators on the eastern continent will be the onocodonts, most of which will be steppe-dwelling hypercarnivores preying on a variety of big game. However, along the edges of the coastal forests, many of the local titanopods, like the stylopods, may be too large and formidable to risk attacking, so many onocodont species may specialize for hunting smaller, faster herbivores like the camptopods and other leptopods.
Okay.
To catch such nimble prey, they may...
This photo is so incredible right here. It really makes me feel like I'm like in there. So shout outs to Dragon one more time, because this is actually really good. I like the perspective of this, where you're like down low. You almost see like the fear within their eyes, their many eyes, as they're running away, and this creature is standing menacingly over them. Very intimidating, I will say that. So incredible image, makes you feel like you're there. I love it.
Adapt to improve their already impressive weaponry. The onocodont's greatest asset lies in their centaurism, which lets them run faster and more efficiently than other predators and frees up their forelimbs to use for manipulation.
Oh.
As they play an increasingly prominent role in catching prey, these limbs may evolve into specialized raptorial appendages, developing pointed serrations along their undersides to close over the prey like a vice and minimize the chance of it struggling free. As these limbs take over the role of securing prey, the pedipalps may reduce into a pair of retractable fangs that can be jabbed into the prey's hide to kill it quickly and efficiently. These eastern onocodonts, which we'll call cryptodonts, will be adept pursuit hunters in open areas, but in this landscape, the trees will be plentiful enough to provide cover for ambush predators like the deinognathans. The rivers and watering holes may be ideal habitats for the semi-aquatic trachognathans and dolichognathans, and the fully terrestrial ancestral forms may thrive along the forest periphery. Going after plains-dwelling herbivores may bring them into competition with the onocodonts, and thus the two clades may need to undergo a degree of niche partitioning if they're to coexist in the same habitats. The deinognathans' signature mandibles are so large and robust that they can't be used to chew or process food, this job instead being relegated to the pedipalps, which break up the food and pass it into the throat, the exact opposite condition to that of the onocodonts. Whereas the onocodonts use their pedipalps to inflict precise puncturing bites to kill their prey quickly, the deinognathans rely on their tremendously powerful bite force to crush their prey, which may serve as a pre-adaptation for new modes of feeding. Durophagy is a feeding behavior characterized by specializations for cracking open shells, bones, or other hard structures, for which having a high bite strength is a fundamental prerequisite. As such, while the onocodonts may only be able to feed on the softer, fleshier parts of their prey, some species of deinognathans may adapt to feed on the bones and other carrion they leave behind. For most other carnivores, these parts of the carcass would be inedible, and thus these deinognathans will face very little competition as they evolve into Durophagous scavengers. As briefly mentioned in Part 6, scavenging doesn't yield as much food as active predation, so these bone-eating deinognathans will likely be smaller than their macropredatory cousins, and will still actively hunt prey when carrion is scarce. Durophages often have blunt, rounded teeth, an optimal shape for breaking through hard materials like bone, along with extra chambers within their digestive tract and especially powerful stomach acid. Among these deinognathans, these adaptations may also let them crunch through the shells of plecostricans and other diplostomes, or even to subsist on tough woody vegetation. On account of having such powerful crushing jaws, let's call these animals malleognathans. On the far side of the continent lies the coastal rainforest we covered in the last episode. which fortunately will be largely unaffected by the onset of the Ice Age, as it will still receive plenty of rainfall thanks to the warm ocean currents along the coast.
Okay.
It is, however, blocked off from the rest of the continent by the
By the
mountains,
mountains, yeah.
meaning many of the local rainforest species will exist nowhere else in the world.
Oh, wow.
But a select few clades may still be able to pass over the mountains, most notably flying animals like the Opisthophorans and Pleuropterans. And since these clades have co-evolved with and helped to disperse the chromatophytes, they'll carry these plants with them as they expand their range westward, effectively bringing their own food source into their new habitats.
Okay.
The earliest Pleuropterans will be small generalist frugivores, but the forms that spread over the mountains and colonize the rest of the continent may grow to larger sizes and adapt for long-distance flight. The same rules of wing design that apply to the Opisthophorans will also apply to the Pleuropterans. The bigger they get, the larger their wings will need to be in proportion to their body.
Hey, guys, what is this? What is this? It's our good buddy, the square cube law. Let's go.
To keep them airborne.
Tell him.
Many of these forms may retain a similar diet to the ancestral Pleuropterans, feeding mainly on fruit and other mixed plant matter, as well as the occasional malacoform. This radiation, which we'll call the Platypterans, will comprise the majority of Pleuropteran diversity outside the eastern rainforest. But some species may spread into habitats where the chromatophytes, their principal source of food, may not be able to grow in any abundance, forcing them to adapt to new food sources. We mentioned last time how the Pleuropterans and Opisthophorans would avoid competition with each other by specializing.
This is incredible. Joshua Knip. Yo, I like this. It looks like a bat, but at the same time, it looks so much scarier. It almost looks like a person-human bat combo, like trying to stay up on something. And this one, I don't know. This one also looks cool. Shout out to Omnipotent. I like the detail in this one. This one looks more like the creature that I would see. This one is just like, this one is also a really good image, though. I like so much of the art.
For different diets. However, while the Opisthophorans only have their elastic spines and simple struts extending into the wing membrane, the Pleuropterans have a fully developed skeleton, which lends them enough internal support to grow much larger than the Opisthophorans can. This means that once the Pleuropterans reach a certain size, they won't face any competition if they exploit carnivorous niches, which may result in some of the more generalist clades evolving predatory behaviors. Their wings may become more pointed to give them bursts of speed when hunting, and their teeth and pedipalps may sharpen to snatch up and butcher their kills. These forms, which we'll call Thoropterans, will feed on prey.
I feel like there was a good chance to call this one the Dark Knight. I don't know. This one actually just looks more like a real Batman bat character.
Too big for any of the Opisthophorans to catch, such as large diplostomes, small osteopods, or even other Pleuropterans. Many of the Pleuropterans may also manage to fly across the sea. And
what is this? We're getting animation now from these guys? You guys are sending him animations now? Is this thing? Guys, somebody send me some animations or something. What is this? What am I looking at here? This is cool as shit. What is this?
Find habitats on the western continent as well, where they'll find a very different landscape to that of the east. The dry Ice Age climate will turn the majority of the continent into deserts and arid steppe, with the newly created coastline being the only area to support any sizable forests. In the inland regions, the retreating woodlands will give way to plains of tylophytes, pagophytes, and any other brachyphytes that can manage to withstand the dry conditions, with the drought-resistant nodophytes forming isolated pockets of forest around lasting sources of fresh water. Such a huge change in climate and vegetation, and the oscillation in temperature between glacial cycles, will radically restructure many ecosystems across the continent. The most vulnerable animals will be ectotherms, like the ancestral platodonts, dromiopods, and deinognathans.
No! I ain't gonna lie. This guy up here, one of my favorites. Top five. So far. I was gonna say Dead or Alive, but I don't know about that, because that bat creature just now, that last one, that guy, he was kind of cool. I ain't gonna lie, that guy. It's like one of those, you'd get a tattoo of that if it, and you'd have some type of weird meaning behind it, like, oh, this is because I'm so unique and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm a free spirit. I like to fly away, but also I'm a predator or something like that. Don't clip that, but just. realize what I was saying in a whole and then put that together, but just don't clip the one part, because that'd be crazy.
As they're unable to generate their own heat to combat the effects of the cold, and so many species may die off outside the tropics. Even megafauna like the titanopods may be forced into decline, as even though they're able to maintain a more stable internal temperature than other ectotherms thanks to their gigantothermy, this still may not be enough to let them contend with the constant oppressive cold and the lack of food in the inland deserts.
Okay.
Only the pacopods may have any notable presence in the temperate zone, as they're better equipped to deal with the cold than other titanopods due to their thick layers of fat and stocky build.
Yeah, but you're gonna need some fur, buddy. Go ahead and put some fur. Become a furry. Come on, bro.
But even they may struggle to survive beyond a certain latitude.
Yeah.
On the other hand, endotherms, like the eurychirids, leptopods, and onocodonts, will have a huge advantage in the new climate, and begin taking over the vacant niches of the ectotherms in temperate areas. The bulky, cold-adapted hadrodonts may remain the dominant superpredators in the northern regions, primarily hunting large, slow prey like the pacopods. But other varieties of onocodonts, especially those that are more gracile and lightly built, may have the advantage in warmer areas. The cryptodonts would likely thrive in these regions, but since they only exist on the eastern continent, a separate clade may evolve to exploit similar niches in the west, although they may do so in a completely different way. While the cryptodonts, along with most other onocodonts, have vertically aligned pedipalps to bite down through their prey's hide, in this western clade, the pedipalps may instead evolve to oppose each other and to close.
What is... Now we're getting some of this motion? The freaking side claw?
Laterally,
come on now.
Acting like a pincer to securely grab prey while simultaneously inflicting lethal wounds. This means that unlike their eastern relatives, these forms won't need to use their forelimbs for restraining prey, so these limbs may shrink to allow the animal to support larger, stronger pedipalps. Let's call these forms ensidonts. But the animals that are best suited for the Ice Age will be the thylacopods and thecopods, both of which have specialized integuments to complement their endothermy. And with such efficient thermoregulation, they'll thrive as the climate cools and other clades are driven from the temperate zone.
I forgot they already had one with fur on them. Shout outs to these guys.
But as they proliferate and spread across the continent, they'll need to face new challenges. While the tundra where the thylacopods first evolved was too cold and desolate for any predators other than the thecopods, as they move further south, they may come into contact with much larger predators like the hadrodonts and ensidonts, which may incentivize them to invest in some defensive adaptations. Since the majority of the western continent consists of open landscape, they can't rely on the cover of vegetation like their camptopod cousins, so their speed and stamina will be their primary means of evading attack. And in the arms race against the swift onocodonts, they may adapt
this thing looks freaking huge. Look at this thing.
Become even faster. The 8-legged gait of most osteopods provides a stable base, but if an animal is going to invest in speed, any superfluous legs may get in the way and present a waste of energy. Long ago, centaurism evolved in the ancestors of the onocodonts, granting them increased speed and coordination. And now, perhaps these thylacopods may convergently undergo the same development for a similar reason. Even among tetrapods on Earth, centaurism has independently evolved many times, so it's likely to be widespread on this alien planet as well. With only 6 legs, they'll be able to run more efficiently, and their newly freed up forelimbs can now be used for manipulation and gathering food along with the pedipalps. With this development, along with their unrivaled ability to tolerate the cold, this clade of thylacopods, which will give the name Allobrachids, may become some of the most successful megafauna within the temperate latitudes.
And they look like giant tarantulas at that. Ain't that insane? Imagine you are in the middle of the freaking, like, you're in a winter-coated woods right now. You know, snow all over the place. You just see this thing come out from around the corner, looking just like big old tarantula just walking towards you. Then he looks... You know, little things start moving around, sniffing, tingling in the air, and then he moves past you. Bro, also, if you pee or poop yourself, then he will kill you. So there's like, you really got to like watch out in that moment, because then he sniffs it.
Where there's a relative abundance of food, like the notophyte forests along the northeastern coast, some allobrachids may exploit the niches left vacant by the titanopods, growing considerably larger and using their forelimbs and lengthened cephalothorax to reach the foliage. Their size will not only increase their feeding envelope and discourage predators, but will also increase the amount of body heat they generate, making them even more resistant to the cold. These animals, which we'll call teleobrachids, will be the largest of all leptopods, browsing on nodophytes and other trees within the northern forests. Other allobrachids may retain more generalist grazing behaviors, taking over the niches of some of the basal leptopods. Like their camptopod relatives in the east, species living in areas with enough food to support a large number of animals may evolve herding behaviors as a further defense against predators. But the structure of and interactions within these herds may be influenced by the thalaccopod's unique physiology. Back in Part 5, we introduced the dichotomy between R selection, maximizing the quantity of offspring with minimal parental investment, and K selection, producing smaller numbers of offspring but investing more heavily in them to increase their chances of survival.
Yeah. Guys, before he even says it, is this a K or an R? I'm guessing this is more of a K situation right now. This is definitely like a K selection where if they're going to be living in a group, there's going to be more of them. You know, they're going to have a better opportunity to raise their kids. They're already going to be a large species, so it's not like you need to produce like, you know, you'll probably get to live a long time, so you don't have to produce as many at each individual time. So I'm going with K selection.
Where a species falls on the spectrum between R,
because the humans, we kind of number one, and that's who's beating us real, like who's beating humans real. Like I wish a non-human would even step up to me. I'm telling, oh my gosh, it ain't. Oh, I can't. YouTube, I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking about non-humans trying to attack us, and I'm like, who do you think you are? You're not a human. What are you doing here? You're not going to compete with us. I don't care what planet you're from, sir. We're humans. We're going to win. Have you seen Independence Day, alien? Sorry, you didn't. You lose. That's your first mistake. You didn't even see Independence Day. You didn't even see War of the Worlds. You didn't even see War of the Worlds, the really bad one with Ice Cube in it. Like, guys, you didn't see none of that, alien. What are you doing on Earth? Oh my gosh, the things we would do to these aliens when they come here if they tried it. They better be nice. You aliens better be nice. You watching from space right now, when you come to Earth, show some respect, take your shoes off at the door, all that stuff. Don't be causing no drama around here, because get packed out. You like Earth? You enjoy being on Earth? You ain't gonna be here for long with a bad attitude. I'll tell you that right now. I speak on behalf of everybody from Earth right now. Yeah, everybody from Earth. We all rep the same. We all in it together. You aliens come down here trying to talk some smack. Get smacked up back to your planet. That's what's happening.
K selection is a key aspect of its life history, or the pattern of survival and reproduction throughout its life cycle, which will be influenced by a variety of factors. Typically, clades will transition from R selection to K selection as they evolve larger body sizes and as their populations reach carrying capacity. So by this point in history, most species of megafaunal osteopods will likely tend towards K selection.
Real.
The thylacopods will be more K-selected than most, since the female protects her young from the cold while they're within the ootheca by cradling them with her gonopods, which gives the young a much greater chance of surviving through their development, at the expense of encumbering the mother. Note, however, that only the female bears this burden, which ties into another aspect of life history. One of the only universally applicable differences between males and females
is being a man is almost always awesome, and being a woman comes with so much responsibility and so much extra stuff that as a man I would never want to deal with. I feel like that's universal for every species. Women, I love you. I'm sorry that you have to deal with everything you have to deal with, but at the same time, I'm glad it ain't me. Like I got to deal with like man stuff, I gotta fight for y'all, like make sure nobody, you gotta stay safe, and I got man stuff to do, but like outside of that, you guys got all the real work. I ain't gonna lie. Like, you guys gotta be doing all the extra stuff that it's like, whoa, who wants to deal with that? Yeah, I'm sure you don't even want to have to deal with it. You just deal with it. So once again, shout outs to you. Women are incredible. If you don't think women are incredible, you don't know enough of them. Literally, talk to any of them. They're pretty much all incredible. There's some bad women out there, but mostly good ones. And guys, we try, but you guys just have women deal with so much stuff that it's like, yo, they deal with things that I don't even think about on a daily basis, and then they deal with the things that I do think about on a daily basis. So again, shout outs to women, but your lives aren't great. A lot of you are depressed, and there's a reason behind that. It sucks being a woman sometimes. I could see it. I'm not even a woman. I can see it from a distance. I'm like, whoa, wouldn't want to be her. Like, like if I was a woman right now on the internet, people would probably be saying all types of negative stuff about me. Who knows, or harassing me in different type of ways. Now, I'm a guy, and I'm a black guy, so people only give me negative comments every once in a while, like I'm sure going on one of these rants or something might get me a little bit of heat, but probably not even. People probably going to agree with this. Honestly, all smart people are going to agree with everything I just said right now. So if you don't agree with me, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you are dumb. Okay. Let's get back to it. The rant went as far as I could take it.
Across all clades is that, by definition, female gametes are larger and require more energy to produce than male gametes.
Oh, that's what he was talking about. Yeah, that too. That was going to be my second answer. Was that the women are, the gametes are larger. But the first thing is also true.
And therefore, males usually have a higher fecundity than females. This is especially true in species with internal fertilization, since once a female is fertilized, she'll be unable to mate again while she carries the developing young, further limiting the potential number of offspring she can have during her lifetime.
True.
This results in what's known as Bateman's principle, the concept that reproduction is a greater investment for females than for males.
Yeah. Do we need Bateman to give a principle about this? Come on, Bateman. I thought this was a factual statement right here. When reproductive burden is unequal between the sexes, the sex with the greater burden, almost always the female, will be more selective in mating choice. That makes 100% sense. Outside of like seahorses, which I guess if you're a male seahorse, you get, now you're choosing. You're over there like, hey, what's going on Seahorse OnlyFans, or no, it's Seahorse. What's the one where people be getting together? You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on there? Bam, I got a date. You got like 3 seahorse dates later on. Only one of them, he only plans on getting pregnant by one of them. So, ladies, seahorse ladies, you better have some game. Start learning how to talk to these seahorses out here. For a real seahorse, find some appreciation somewhere. It will. That I'm speaking on behalf of all the male seahorses right now who have the burden of delivering children. So but outside of that, all other women, sorry to tell you this, but this goes back to what I was saying before. The burdens that you guys have are unequal. But at the same time, as a guy, I appreciate you for doing all that. I can't make it equal. And even if I could, I don't know, because being a man is actually pretty cool. Like I know for some people it's gonna suck to hear, but like it is awesome. Like it's pretty freaking awesome. Like I think of like a bunch, like I love females. I have so many in my family. I'm thinking of like, would I switch places with them in life? Probably not. Just the periods thing alone makes me want to never make that switch. Like you guys got to deal with that every month. Bruh, if it happened to me one time, I'm thinking about ending it all. But you guys deal with that every month. Oh my gosh! And there's emotional things with it too. Like Jesus Christ! Like can we get a break? If I'm a woman, I'm like, yo, can we get a break? Like, can I get like a month or two off of this? Like I did 12 months, 12. Let me get 10. I'll do 10. That's what I would say.
And therefore, while males are usually incentivized to mate with as many females as possible to maximize their reproductive output, females need to make sure that every attempt at reproduction will be worth the investment.
True.
This means that females will often only choose to mate with males that display an adequate degree of fitness, and who will therefore pass on their fitness to the offspring. meaning the males will need to compete with each other for the right to mate, another form of intraspecific competition. However, in the osteopods, there's the confounding factor of sequential hermaphroditism. The earliest ancestors of the osteopods were capable of changing sex during their life cycle, which many modern clades may retain, but exactly how their hermaphroditism operates will vary based on their life history strategy. Sequential hermaphrodites can be either
I was literally just thinking about the clownfish. Like they could do like the clownfish, where like what is it like the most alpha male in the group becomes the female, and then the second biggest alpha male becomes the new alpha male. Like it kind of works that way in their group. We're like, oh, you're the strongest, toughest guy. You're a chick now. Congratulations.
Protandrous, capable of changing from male to female, or protogynous, changing from female to male. However, this change in sex will usually only occur if it presents a potential increase in the individual's reproductive success. For example, in a population with a biased sex ratio, switching to the less common sex would present more opportunities for reproduction, and therefore, a high degree of competition between males for access to females will favour protandry. Keeping all this in mind, among the thylacopods, the burden of carrying the ootheca while the young develop increases the cost of reproduction for the female, which will incentivize her to be more selective when it comes to mate choice, which will increase the competition among males, and ultimately lead to protandry being the dominant form of hermaphroditism among these species.
Okay.
The difference in reproductive priorities between the sexes may also lead to differences in their physiology as well. Sexual selection occurs when traits evolve based on their role in competing for and acquiring mates, often arising from a preference for the trait by the opposite sex. Sexual selection frequently operates differently between the two sexes, sometimes resulting in sexual dimorphism, wherein males and females of a species exhibit different characteristics beyond their reproductive system.
Now, I do wonder how stuff like this started, where like, you know, maybe there was one of these birds that just was like slightly different. Like maybe all the birds looked alike at one point, and then one was just born with a slight mutation, and then the other female birds like that, and then they kept having offspring until eventually maybe all the birds got some of these like little patterns, but then the males specifically, because of the, you know, the breeds, their tails started getting longer, and then longer tails started being a thing. So now men want longer, you know, male birds want the longer tails. So, or the female birds want the longer tail. So now they're only having babies with the longer tail one. So now their babies are having even longer tails until thousands of years after that, it becomes this, where now the male has freaking blue and greens and reds and all these other things, and the females just look all right, you know, they just look normal, you know. And I guess it's the same thing here, where like one day it was a slightly darker bird until eventually it was like, yo, pitch black birds, you know. That's crazy.
The thylacopods already exhibit sexual dimorphism in the shape of their gonopods, as only the female has the distinct pouch-like gonopods to help her carry the ootheca, while the males have more typical gonopods to help them fertilize the females. But sexual selection may end up driving further dimorphism. One very common dimorphic trait is body size, which is also highly correlated with mate competition. Typically, the more intense the competition between males, the larger the males will be in comparison to the females, which may therefore also be the case in these allobrachids. If competition is particularly fierce, males may also evolve horns, antlers, or other structures with which to spar with each other over access to females, which can also double as a defense against predators. In these allobrachids, the equivalent of these structures may evolve from their recently freed up forelimbs, while the females and the juveniles may simply use these limbs for manipulation and gathering food. In the mature males, these limbs may strengthen and grow hardened club-like ends to turn them into powerful punching arms, with which the males may batter each other into submission. To withstand the blows from these limbs, they may also develop reinforced bones within their skull and further armor around their cephalothorax. Due to this distinctive armament, we'll give them the name ceratobrachids.
Horn harms? I don't know. I feel like we should have had like skull head, or like what's a good one? Something about the head, but I guess we gotta accentuate the arms in this this species, this clad, if you will. this clade, as some may say. I don't know how to say it.
However, even if a male Ceratobrachid wins a contest for a mate, he may still sustain injuries during the battle, which may reduce his chances of winning further contests, or, in extreme cases, may even result in him dying shortly thereafter. So these fights may end up
I'm not gonna lie, this is insane. Okay, let me see this fight animated, because if you won, buddy, hey, the other guy must have been tough as hell, bro. Because if you won, that other guy must have been. What did the other guy look like? You know, like if you won? What did the other guy look like? Jeez, come on, bro. Like you gotta. I thought y'all were just gonna use these. You were using some of these, some of this. You were freaking bashing them all the way through. You bashed your own head in.
limiting the male's long-term reproductive success. Because of this, another clade of allobrachids may settle for a less violent way of competing for mates. Another common sexually dimorphic trait is the presence of frills, crests, or vibrant coloration, which males use to advertise their fitness without needing to engage in physical confrontations. One clade of allobrachids may opt for this strategy, with males evolving large, colourful crests on their arms and cephalothorax to use in courtship displays. Structures like these usually have no function outside of attracting mates, and therefore come about purely through sexual selection, providing no direct benefit, or sometimes even posing an active disadvantage to the individual. In a process called Fisherian runaway, a sexually selected trait may become so exaggerated that it reduces the individual's overall fitness, such as how the enormous tails of peacocks and widow birds demand a lot of energy to grow and maintain, and hamper their ability to escape from predators. At first, this seems to contradict the fundamental premise of natural selection. We'd expect males that are hindered by overly large or costly ornamentation to be less likely to survive and reproduce, and to be outcompeted by males with more reasonable, less encumbering displays. So how is it
I don't know. I feel like this one here, I forgot what they call it. I feel like these birds, this intimidation factor is kind of good though. Like, cause all these have these little these little circles on them. They can like move when he's moving. He can kind of like make them do stuff, with the movement. So it's kind of like I could see an animal not knowing what this rest of the stuff is and being like, I'm not about to risk it. These could be creatures that could also attack me one at a time. Like, the animals wouldn't know.
Such exuberant and costly traits can persist. The answer lies in the fact that if a male has survived to maturity despite having such a huge and obvious handicap, then that, in and of itself, is an indicator of his fitness. So the females may maintain a preference for the trait even if males that possess it have lower survival rates than those without it, creating a feedback loop that selects for increasingly exaggerated ornamentation. Among these allobrachids, Fisherian runaway may select for larger and larger crests, which, despite the fact that they'll get in the way while feeding and make the male more visible and vulnerable to predators, will be maintained purely because of the female's preference for them. In these animals, which we'll call corythobrachids, a male's reproductive success will primarily be determined by the size of his crests, while less successful males may become female as a way of easing the intensity of the competition, shedding their crests as they do so.
I'm not gonna lie, couldn't be me. I'm not letting some other dude make me shed my crest. I'm not being a woman. I'm sorry. You gotta shed yours, bro. Like I'm not doing it, bro. You gotta do it, and then come on back here. Let me get hit.
With these clades of thylacopods, the thecapods will also come to thrive in the temperate latitudes, though they'll still live in the shadow of much larger onocodonts like the hadrodonts and enzodonts. Most species may avoid competition with these clades by remaining comparatively small and inhabiting areas with too little prey to support larger predators. Where prey is especially scarce, like the cold deserts and barren scrublands that form the majority of the continental interior, the smaller, more generalist species will have the upper hand. To help them handle a wider variety of food, their mandibles, which in other onocodonts are simply designed for cutting meat into pieces small enough to be swallowed, may acquire additional grinding surfaces to help them chew vegetation as well, while the role of shearing off chunks of flesh may be increasingly played by the pedipalps, which may therefore acquire additional cusps and cutting edges, an innovation broadly equivalent to heterodonty in Earth's vertebrates. But beyond these physical adaptations, the limited availability of resources in their habitat may also have implications for their life history. Once again, Bateman's principle posits that the difference in investment between the two sexes during reproduction will incentivize the females to be selective in mate choice and for males to mate with as many females as possible. However, the lower a species' population density, the fewer opportunities there'll be for mating, so at some point, instead of wasting time and energy searching for multiple females, a male may ultimately achieve greater reproductive success by investing more heavily in a single mate.
True.
Possibly the most extreme case of this phenomenon occurs among ceratioid anglerfish, which live at such low population densities that, when a male encounters a female, he may never get another chance at reproduction, and so he permanently attaches himself to her, providing her with a steady input of sperm to fertilize her eggs. While the thecopods are unlikely to be driven to
just like me for real. I'm sorry, I had to say
such an extreme, the scarcity of resources in their habitat will inevitably result in low population densities, which may select for increased reproductive investment in the males and ultimately culminate in the evolution of monogamy, staying with only a single mate at a time. Monogamy is quite rare as a reproductive strategy, but may evolve when females are widely scattered or if the offspring are likely to die without investment from both parents. When a male fertilizes a female, he may remain with her while she's pregnant, assisting in hunting and helping to care for the young once they're born. He may only leave once the young are old enough to survive on their own, at which point he may begin looking for another female, a behavior called serial monogamy. Another consequence of resource scarcity will be increased intraspecific competition, so to protect their access to local food sources, these thecopods might exhibit territorial behaviors. However, in the search for a mate, the male will be forced to wander far and wide, and thus it may not be feasible for him to defend a territory of his own, instead sharing a territory with the females he mates with. But the female may not accept his presence lightly. Having a male within her territory will mean she'll have to share her resources with him, which she may only tolerate if she judges him as a decent mate, violently attacking him and chasing him off if he doesn't meet her standards. Because of this heightened interest in territorial defense, the females may be larger and more aggressive than the males, and since the process of finding and acquiring a mate is a lot more hazardous for the male, finding his own territory and becoming female may present a potential increase in reproductive success, and therefore protandry will once again be the dominant form of hermaphroditism in this clade. With this life history strategy, these thecopods, which we'll call amphidonts, will be some of the most highly case-selected animals yet to evolve, letting them maintain stable populations as the Ice Age encroaches. But while the cold-adapted thecopods and thylacopods will have an advantage in the new climate, so will the clades that once inhabited the central desert, whose ability to survive on very little food and water will let them considerably expand their range as the continent dries out. The amblypods may begin outcompeting other small herbivores in arid areas within the tropics, while the lystrachirids, being adaptable enough to eat just about anything, may be able to spread into the temperate plains and scrublands. As they arrive in these more fertile areas, some lystrachirid species may increase the proportion of plant matter in their diet, with their broad multi-purpose teeth enlarging to help gnaw through brachyphyte bulbs and tree roots. As they rely less and less on scavenging, their pedipalps, previously adapted for reaching inside carcasses to probe for fresh meat, may lose their role in feeding and assume an entirely sensory function, essentially becoming a pair of antennae. Both their fossoriality and their nocturnality will be major assets, having originally evolved as a way of escaping the desert heat, but now serving to help them avoid the higher levels of predation they'll encounter as they colonize new ecosystems. But one of the most exceptional aspects of their biology is in their reproduction. While the offspring of most other osteopods are precocial, more or less fully developed at birth, the lystrachirids are highly altricial, undergoing a significant portion of their development after they're born, with their young being blind, boneless, and largely immobile. For these young to have any chance of survival, they'll need at least some help from the parents, which in the basal desert-dwelling species came in the form of birthing the offspring within a carcass to serve as a first meal. But in these new species, this may evolve into a more dedicated form of parental care, such as keeping the young safe within a deep burrow and providing them with food as they develop. Once again, however, Bateman's principle means that a male will see greater reproductive success from mating with multiple females, and spending time and energy caring for the young will limit his ability to look for mates. So unlike the amphidonts, whose females are widely scattered enough to justify the male assisting in parental care, the role of nurturing the young may fall solely on the female Lystracheirid. However, while multiple matings will maximize the male's fitness, searching for mates will expose them to many of the steppe-dwelling predators, and so an individual's reproductive potential may be cut short by an early death. If a species has an especially high mortality rate, then rather than relying on a decently long lifespan to provide multiple opportunities for mating, an animal may benefit from investing in only a single clutch of offspring early in life while it still can. Therefore, while most osteopods are iteroparous, producing multiple clutches of offspring over the course of their lives, some of these Lystracheirids may evolve to become semilparous, investing all of their energy in exactly one reproductive event and dying soon afterwards. Semilparity is most commonly seen in R-selected species, and is correlated with small sizes, short lifespans, low survival rates, and large clutch sizes. Semilparity is quite rare in clades with internal fertilization, especially among tetrapods, but it does happen occasionally. Likewise, iteroparity is likely to be the norm for most osteopods, but at least some of these Lystracheirids, especially smaller species with high growth rates, may be some of the few osteopods to evolve semilparity. Like many animals, the Lystracheirids may time their reproduction to occur during the part of the year when food is most abundant. During this time, the males may become extremely aggressive and compete furiously to find and fertilize as many females as possible, with the less successful males taking advantage of protandry to bypass the competition. The fertilized females may then dig a burrow in which to incubate the offspring, of whom they'll be fiercely protective until they're developed enough to survive on their own. Both the males and the females will begin to die off once the breeding season ends and winter approaches. The death of the adults may also help the young survive by limiting intraspecific competition between adults and juveniles. If older individuals are able to more effectively gather resources than younger ones, which will almost certainly be the case for altricial species like the Lystracheirids, the juveniles may end up being outcompeted before they can reach adulthood. Having the older generation die after the juveniles leave their mother's protection will help to relieve this competition, but some species, especially those that retain iteroparity, may further avoid competition by undergoing a form of age-dependent niche partitioning. These Lystracheirids are generalist omnivores, but the ability to digest vegetation requires a large foregut, which the young won't have developed yet by the time they're born. Because of this, the younger animals may be more inclined to feed on meat and other food sources that are relatively easy to digest, growing expanded foreguts and thickened teeth as they age, gradually transitioning from carnivory to omnivory. This unusual life history will give these animals, which we'll call Trypanocheirids, a bizarre mixture of R-selected and K-selected traits, since they simultaneously invest in large clutch sizes and high growth rates while also exhibiting parental care. As mentioned earlier, K-selection tends to become increasingly favored.
And as I said earlier, K-selection is the best selection. It's your only selection. I wish somebody in a other selection would try something. You get these two. They don't start with K. They start with a H. It's these hands. I wish any other type of selection would, bro. We K all day over here. K selection, gang, everybody on Earth. You guys also have to be with me. We're all K selections, so the gang is all of Earth, all humans at least. You a human? You ride with me. I got you. We here together.
As ecosystems become more heavily populated and as clades reach larger body sizes. But there are some niches where R-selection is likely to be maintained. Parasitism is a form of symbiosis in which one species benefits at the expense of another, usually characterized by the parasite living on or within a host from which it derives part or all of its nourishment. On Earth, parasitism is seen in a huge number of entirely unrelated clades, although curiously, it's virtually non-existent among vertebrates. Possibly because their physiology and life history strategies are often the opposite of what would be optimal for a parasite. Parasites tend towards small body sizes, which let them attach to hosts more easily and less conspicuously, and are usually strongly R-selected, as the biggest obstacle to their reproductive success is usually the challenge of dispersing to new hosts, which may only be overcome by producing offspring in vast numbers. Contrary to this, most clades of vertebrates are biased towards relatively large sizes, which usually goes hand in hand with K-selection, putting them at a disadvantage in competing for parasitic niches. Likewise, the osteopod shares similar specializations to vertebrates, so they too may take up parasitism less readily than other, smaller clades. In particular, the malacoforms are some of the smallest animals on the planet, and have largely maintained the R-selection of the ancestral lophostomes, making them prime candidates to evolve parasitism. The transition to parasitism may begin with phoresis or foracy, using another organism simply as a means of transport, usually without any negative impact on the host.
You know what? I never knew that this is how that started. I kind of figured it was like they started off as creatures that wanted to eat the, like eat off of other creatures, and then they just conveniently got a ride. I didn't think it started off as like, oh no, we just needed a ride, and it turns out they also have food in the car. Like, this
may be ubiquitous among the tiny malacoforms, as hitching a ride on a larger animal will let them travel much further than they could possibly crawl on their own. But perhaps some of these malacoforms adapt to use their host not just for dispersal, but also for feeding, subsisting on the organic debris, glandular secretions, or even dead skin that builds up on the animal's hide. If these malacoforms are especially vigorous in their feeding, they may even open wounds on the host's body, which may result in some species evolving hematophagy, or blood-drinking behaviors. Blood has a very high nutrient content, making it an enticing food source for many animals. While in facultative hematophages, blood forms only a part of the animal's diet, obligate hematophages are specialized for feeding on blood exclusively. These specializations may involve optimizing the mouthparts for blood sucking and the production of chemical agents to stop the blood from clotting while the animal drinks it, maintaining a constant flow of blood as they feed. This may be accomplished in these malacoforms with sharp, toothy tentacles to bite through the host's skin and simultaneously inject anticoagulants into the wound. Hematophagy doesn't automatically qualify as parasitism, as the interaction between a hematophage and its host is often quite brief, while parasitism typically entails a long-term association. To be considered a full-fledged parasite, the animal must be adapted to
what is this? Why is it digging into somebody's skin? Get that out of there.
Remain attached to the host for a significant portion of its life cycle, which these malacoforms may achieve by evolving powerful spine-covered tentacles to securely anchor themselves to the host, and a long proboscis to bore into the skin and reach the bloodstream. The specializations a parasite undergoes will be contingent on the exact physiology of the host, resulting in co-evolution between the two. As such, many parasites are extremely host-specific, only adapted for parasitizing a single or a small number of closely related host species. So this clade of parasitic malacoforms, which we'll call mysignathans, may contain many hundreds or even thousands of different species, each one adapted to its own unique host species.
Sucking jaws.
But another clade of
I ain't gonna lie, I wish this blue skin one would also do some stuff, because it looks cool.
Malacoforms may evolve parasitism in an entirely different way. While ectoparasites, like the mysignathans, attach themselves to the outside of the host, endoparasites live inside their host's body, where they're protected from the environment and are less likely to be removed. This requires a way of entering the host, which very small, especially microbial parasites may achieve by infiltrating the respiratory tract, burrowing through the skin, or even by using another parasite or hematophage as a vector. But one of the most common methods is by allowing themselves to be eaten. Among the malacoforms, many species may lay their eggs along or under leaves, where they may end up being unwittingly swallowed by foraging herbivores. If one clade evolves to produce eggs that are durable enough to survive the digestion process, some of the larvae may hatch out while still inside the herbivore, where they'll be able to feed on the contents of the animal's gut. Offering ample nutrients and devoid of predators, the herbivore will serve as an ideal incubator, prompting some malacoforms to spend their entire lives within their host. However, one drawback to this lifestyle is the difficulty it presents when it comes to dispersal. Being unable to survive outside the host means that the only way to transmit their offspring to a new host will be to disperse their eggs in the host's excrement, in the hope that they land somewhere where they'll have a chance of being ingested by another herbivore. To maximize the chances of this happening, most endoparasites once again tend toward R selection, producing enormous quantities of eggs of which the vast majority will die. While their reproductive systems expand, many endoparasites also show a severe
Sucks to be one of those eggs, I'll tell you that.
Reduction or simplification in other body systems, as passively feeding on the host's gut doesn't require a great deal of bodily complexity, to the point that many endoparasites, like tapeworms, thorny-headed worms, and horsehair worms, have no functioning digestive or respiratory tracts.
I'm about to say, they all look alike. They just look like one big organ. What's that main long tubular organ that's throughout the body? You know what that is, guys. Go ahead and comment it down below. Believe it or not, I'm actually not a doctor. Did you guys know that I'm not a doctor? Like, they don't pay me to be a doctor. Like, I have zero medical experience. I know, shocking. No, I know. Don't be aghast. I said a factual statement there. I am not a licensed doctor.
Instead, simply absorbing oxygen and nutrients.
I'm good with my hands, but that's for the ladies.
They're out of surface.
Yeah, you get what I mean there. Yeah, you guys got the joke.
Similarly, in these malacoforms, the eye stalks and other sensory organs, being essentially useless inside a host, may atrophy completely, along with the limbs and the majority of the internal organs, while the oviduct may grow so large that it extends into the spine-covered proboscis, with which they anchor themselves to the wall of their host's intestines. This lifestyle is likely to have first evolved very early on in the history of terrestrial life, with the parasitic clades diversifying in tandem with their hosts.
I don't know about that.
Like in ectoparasites, co-evolution with a host results in most endoparasites being highly host-specific, but with one major caveat. Being utterly reliant on a single host means that if the host dies, then so does the parasite, which is an especially big problem if the host species experiences a high rate of
You want to be able to jump from host to host, coast to coast, ghost to ghost. There was a joke in there. I forgot the name of the show. Was it Ghost Rider? No, it's not. It was definitely a Comedy Central thing. No. Cartoon Network? Toonami? Space Ghost goes coast to coast? It's Space Ghost goes coast to coast. It was a talk show. You guys, if you don't know about Space Ghost, go ahead and watch you some Space Ghost. It was a pretty funny show. Honestly, go back and watch the original Hanna-Barbera. Go watch Hanna-Barbera stuff. It was pretty good for the 80s. And then go watch Space Ghost goes coast to coast and the interviews. You'll see it's hilarious.
Because of this, unlike ectoparasites, which are often monoxenous, completing their entire life cycle on a single host species, many endoparasites are heteroxenous, developing inside one or more intermediate hosts before being transmitted to the final or definitive host, only then maturing into their adult form and commencing reproduction. On the barren scrublands of the western continent, one clade of these malacoforms may co-evolve with a family of xerostricans, which will serve as prey for some species of theropterans. When a theropteran kills and feeds on one of these xerostricans, it may unwittingly ingest any malacoforms infesting it, which, if they survive, may adapt to use the theropteran as their definitive host. This will have the added benefit of massively increasing the range of their dispersal, since the theropterans can travel much further than the slow, ponderous plecostricans can.
True.
This heteroxeny means that in order to complete their life cycle, endoparasites like these often rely on their intermediate hosts being eaten. So to maximize the chances of this happening, they may produce chemical agents that alter the morphology or behavior of the host to make it more susceptible to predation, such as how the nematode Myrmica causes the abdomen of the ants it infests to turn bright red, making them more noticeable to predators.
Oh, wow.
While lancet liver flukes manipulate their ant hosts into climbing blades of grass.
Now, I've heard of this second one, but this first one is insane. Never did you just put the red dot on me, bro. You really just added the red dots to my freaking forehead like that? Like every animal ain't just coming after me now? Bruh.
where they're more likely to be inadvertently swallowed by cows, which serve as the fluke's definitive host. In these Malacca forms, when the larvae reach maturity, they may secrete chemicals that cause their zoroastrican hosts to lose their fear of predators, and to forage for food during the time of day when the Thyropterans are most active. Only once the larvae pass into the Thyropteran's gut will they develop their expanded oviducts and begin producing eggs. This may be only one of hundreds of different life cycles that develop among this clade, with every species adapting for its own sequence of hosts within its local ecosystem. We'll call them echinostomes. While it would be impossible to account for all the changes that occur as the continents break apart, the clades we've discussed here will constitute some of the major groups that will evolve over the course of about 30 million years as life in the east and west diverges. But beyond the two continents, there are some habitats on this planet that present opportunities for far more extreme forms of allopatry to occur, and whose biogeography demands a more thorough examination.
Are we about to talk about islands?
In the next episode, we'll explore how life...
Bro, come on, give me the clap, everybody in the audience. Give me the clap. Give me clap. Wait, I don't think I'm supposed to say it like that. That feels different. Okay, clap for me is what I should have said, ladies and gentlemen, because I correctly said that this was going to be islands next. He's talking about islands next. I can't wait. Guys, there's like multiple things that I don't want you to clip up in this episode that would just seem weird if you did. I mean, I'd laugh and I'd probably watch it, but like, you know, like, you guys know what I meant. I didn't say give me the clap. I meant clap for me. Microphone, you're not making this better right now. You're actually hurting my argument right now by falling. What are you doing? You're supposed to be on my side here.
Adapt to colonize the many islands across the sea, and explore the unique and highly unusual ecosystems that arise as a result. Thanks to all the artists over on Discord who contributed artwork for this episode, and who saved me an enormous amount of time and effort when making these videos.
Artists, you guys are all incredible. I'm telling you, every single one of you deserves a pat on the back.
Simultaneously making them look a hell of a lot better in the process.
You know what? Thousands of people already saw the artwork on his channel. I'm sure hundreds more may see it on my channel. You know what? I hope everyone in your family already saw it. You know, give you some congratulations. I hope you guys became, you know, even more famous artists now. I hope there's somebody who got something put up in a museum. You know, there's a piece of artwork that's like in some type of art museum, modern art museum, and it's one of these guys. I don't know.
Links to the main
maybe it's this guy
and the Alien Biospheres fan
server. Maybe it's Bloody Pigeon.
And once again, a massive thanks to all the patrons
one was actually pretty dope.
In the description.
And
once again,
I feel like we didn't see this one in the video.
A massive thanks to all the patrons whose continued support makes videos.
Dark Sun.
Once again, a massive thanks to all the patrons whose
Dark Sun, Sunny. I'm gonna say one of those were right. This guy always puts out some bangers. I'll say that. I've noticed that whenever I see his name up, I'm like, oh, this is about to be incredible.
Continued support makes videos like this possible.
Default.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
This one was pretty nice too. Dragon, also in that list of people, when you know his name is coming up in the artwork, it's about to be really good. Because, like I said, this one right here, this image right here, boy, this was good. It made me feel a way. And that's how I know art is affecting me, when I start to feel a certain way about it, you know? Ah, man. Shout outs to Joshua, Nat, Goldenrod, Greeniverse, Hollow. You know, so many great artists. Guys, which artwork was your favorite piece? You know, comment down below if you had a favorite art piece, the name of the artist. If you guys know how to get in touch with one of these artists or anything, if you're an artist, guys, feel free, send me some art to my channel. There's links all in the YouTube thing somewhere here. Editor, put that in my hand. There's other links for like different, you know, places you can reach me at. You know, my email address, whatever. Send me some artwork. I love this type of stuff. I think it's incredible. You know, I would love to be able to promote some great artists like this. Let them know, hey, you see some great artwork, you go this guy. I mean, even right now, the two images that I use, I will give credit out to the channel now because he's a dear friend of mine, Perseus Prime on YouTube. Check him out. He has made artwork for me on this channel that I've used a lot, actually. The little editor guy, you know, the angry editor guy that you saw the one video. Yeah, so hey, I have some. I would just love more because stuff like this is really cool. So again, Perseus, shout outs to you. Thank you for the artwork as always. I really do appreciate it. You already know we're probably gonna watch some King of the Hill later. But yeah, anybody else out there who wants to be part of the watching King of the Hill crew or just making video or making stuff for me, let me know. I'll shout you out. It's always really cool. Guys, that was a great video. I got to say, they just keep getting better. They just keep getting better. We're going to be talking about islands next, so that's going to be an interesting one. But in this one, I did learn quite a bit. You know, obviously, there were some things I already knew, like women's, their lives aren't the best. They, you know, it kind of sucks to be a woman, but tell us something we didn't already know. Also, women, ladies, you know, I'm sorry. You know, I don't mean this negatively or anything. And if you do think this is a very negative thing for me to continuously say, I do apologize. But being a guy is awesome. I just want you guys to remember that. A lot less responsibility. We got responsibilities, but y'all have more. And I want to make sure that is well known within this video that I believe personally, as a man for my whole life, it looks way harder being a woman. And I would never trade for it. It just feels so awesome being a guy. But with that being said, that's why I love women so much. I think you guys are incredible. I think you women, you ladies, you're all incredible. You know, shout outs to you. Hurrah, hurrah for you. Now, with all that being said, if you like the ramblings, the rants, all the entertaining stuff you saw here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know, like the video, maybe comment some stuff. If you want to comment something negative, go ahead and do it. You want to comment something positive, go ahead and do it. I'm not stopping you. I don't control you. But yeah, we had a good time here today. I had a good time. That's the most important thing because I'm making a video. So if you also had a good time, like, comment, subscribe. And if you made it this far, as always, I got to say thank you. I love you. Bye. Ladies, I love you guys the most.